Welcome in, ladies and gents. This is the 2025 Daredevil Born Again Season 1 review. So, for all my Netflix Marvel enthusiasts, I would say just initially, not a bad start. Not a bad start for a Disney Plus Marvel show. Even though I do love some of the Marvel Disney Plus shows like WandaVision and Winter Soldier and Falcon. And I do like Miss Marvel. Shout out to Miss Marvel. And yeah, so as we know, this will be a spoiler review. So you guys who have not watched Daredevil Born Again at this point, I don't know why you're here, but I'm glad you're here. Now, hopefully, you can go after this review and watch that series. Or if you don't really care about anything being spoiled, welcome in. And so, as we know, this is a continuation of what happened in Daredevil, the Netflix series. So, yeah, like I said, as we know, this is the Daredevil Born Again series. And so, essentially, it's picking up after the Netflix, and yeah, Matt is dealing with the consequences of the previous iteration, and we see literally the first two episodes they do something that is just it just makes me so angry because it's like, dude, why would you announce these characters coming back, the original Netflix character, then you kill off Foggy? What are you doing? That's stupid to me. That's so stupid. Why would you do that? Now I get it, in order for it to serve the plot and the story components of this season that needed to happen. You needed this traumatic moment in order to have Matt go through this character progression. But once again, if you guys have watched the Netflix series, you know at the end of season 2, specifically after the Defenders, he lost Elektra and all the rubble and stuff like that when they were taking down the Hand. And we went through all season 3 of Matt getting out the costume and revitalizing himself as a person. And they do that again. They break him down. They give us the first 10-15 minutes of him being Daredevil. And then obviously Foggy dies, and then he just forgets the costume again for what, I think a year or something. And it's just like, why we keep deconstructing this character and then letting him go away from the cape and cowl and then bringing him back toward the end of the season. Like, I'm getting sick of that, to be honest. I'm sick of it. And the first 3 episodes of the season, they make us think, okay, this guy, I think his name is Hector, that they're going to focus somewhat on White Tiger. And I was thinking initially there may be some team up between him and Daredevil at some point, or maybe some like cross confliction like we had in season 2 of the original Netflix Daredevil series, where he was going up against Punisher at some point, because they have a difference of ideologies and things. I was thinking we were going to get that with this character, and they kill him off at the end of episode 3, and it's like, bro, what are you doing? You wasting characters. And rest in peace to the actor that did portray this character, because he did a pretty good job. And so, but still, it's just like they ruined that character before he even really got started. And oh my god, don't even get me started with what they did with Muse. Like, they set this up like it was going. And I understand Fist is the overarching big villain, which he should be, because obviously Vincent D'Onofrio is fantastic as this character. And I will say I did love sort of the deconstruction of his character this season, as we see Vincent, or at least Fist, becoming the new mayor of New York, and the team that he built around him, I think, is Buck and Daniel, and I believe her name is Kristen or Nikki. I think it's Kirsten. Not Kirsten. That's Matt's character. I believe her name is Sheila. Sheila, his mayoral candidate, advisor, or whatever the case may be, or manager. And so essentially, I do like the additions of some of the new characters. I do like Matt, as obviously after Foggy died, then they had to let Karen Page go for so many damn episodes of this season, and then them bringing in Nikki, or bringing in Kirsten as Matt's new, I guess you could say, law partner. That was a nice little touch. I mean, she was fine, but she's not Foggy, and as you can see, with what they was doing with how they had an original Born Again series that they wanted to tell, and that was going to be eliminating and foregoing all the original actors and a lot of the original stuff that made the Netflix series such a phenomenal. It's like, honestly, outside of Smallville, to me, the Daredevil Netflix series is probably the second best superhero show that I've ever seen, if not the best, but definitely the second best live action I've ever seen. Like, great iteration of Daredevil and incarnation. And so, essentially, with we see with them trying to, you can tell they was the first maybe 5 to 7 episodes, they were trying to keep remnants of what they previously wanted to do with the incarnation of that, probably that terrible Daredevil Born Again iteration. And then with the new creatives coming in and a showrunner, an actual showrunner for the series, we see the things that they actually wanted to do, and a lot of that stuff was actually really good, but even some of it was still kind of shaky because they were still trying to complement, or at least trying to work in tandem with some of the original ideas that they had. And at times this series, particularly this first season, can be a little discombobulated, especially me as a viewer watching it. It doesn't feel as concise, especially as like the original Daredevil season 1 and 2 and 3, even though I felt like season 2 of that original Daredevil series had 3 different storylines going on, but it worked because they was able to, first 4 episodes, we finished this iteration character, and they kind of tried to do that with this Daredevil season. With Born Again, they tried to do, but it didn't work to me. It just didn't. It felt a little more discombobulated. It felt just jumbled and all over the place at times. And then I believe it's around episode 4 and 5, I think, where they do the whole, I think they put the episodes together or something like that. Oh, actually, no. Episode 4 is when they finally brought in Punisher, which we all love John Bernthal. We know this man is incredible, especially as this Punisher. And so it was nice to have him come in and for him and Matt to have that dialogue, the open dialogue, especially him confronting Matt, to confront that trauma and that anger and that resentment that he has with Foggy being dead. I love that dynamic between those two characters. I love it. And then they did the whole thing of, like, I think, it was episode 5 and 6 where they put both of those episodes out together. First episode, episode 5, I understand it was supposed to be still connected to what was going on throughout the main theme of Fist and Vanessa, who we know Vanessa. I'm glad they brought back the original Vanessa. And also, yeah, Matt's little psychiatrist girlfriend. She's a cool addition to the show. It was good to see her be the therapist of Fist and Vanessa. But anyway, back to Vanessa. Her basically having a lot of, I guess you would say, kingpin or queenpin iterations or queenpin mannerisms about her when Fist was off wherever he was at, probably recovering from that terrible Echo show. But we see that she was taken over and she had control of certain families and things. And I know episode 5 of this season was supposed to be, a continuation of some of those gangs that she was influencing, trying to, take over now. And yeah, that first episode 5 with Matt in the bank with Kamala's dad, I did appreciate that but you can tell that was probably something from the previous iteration of this Daredevil series that they wanted to keep in there. And I didn't mind it because it kind of give you that, the MCU little flavor that you need when all the universes show that there is some form of connection between the world. And so I appreciate that component of it. But overall, the episode wasn't that interesting to me. It actually was pretty boring for the most part because the bankers were just plot fodder that they put out, and I didn't like that. And then episode 6, I thought was actually a lot bit better. I almost forget what happens in that episode, to be honest. But I thought that was a pretty good episode. I believe Matt is going through something, or I think that's when he's saving the little girl who is the niece of White Tiger. He's saving her, and because Muse got her, and that was a cool fight. And we see, obviously, because what they do this season, which I will say that was one component I liked the most, of parallel Fist and Matt's them both going on this trajectory arc of them becoming the original characters that we knew them to be at the end of season 3, with them still having that violent nature that they contend with within themselves, but also them kind of embracing those aspects of their personage as opposed to trying to repress those components of them to, you know, blend in or to be accepted by other people, instead of just embody what they truly are and embracing, I guess you could say, their nature, if you will. And so I did like that parallel. And then it sort of reaches climax at episode 6, where you got Matt taking on Muse and Fist messing up Adam, because obviously he was, you know, doing what he was doing with Vanessa, and Fist kind of like, you know what, here, I'm gonna give you this axe, even though I starved you, deprived you of water, and let you have actual energy to fight me. But because I'm so bad, I'll just throw you a little axe and open up the gate. You're already tired, so you're just gonna be basically fighting me on adrenaline anyway. And you know, obviously Fist did what he did to him and messed Adam up, but he didn't kill him, at least at that point. And Matt obviously taking out Muse, or at least getting Muse so he can get and save the girl, and him with that primal scream. Ah! Love that shit. Love it so much. Love when you do that primal scream. So we just see him embracing that, and then I believe episode 7. I almost forget what happens in that episode, to be honest, because it wasn't that memorable, in my opinion. Obviously, yeah, Daredevil ends up beating Muse and taking him out. Well, actually, he don't take him out. Because Muse captures, which I knew from like the first episode when they showed Muse, or when they showed the guy that was a fan of, I believe, what's Matt's girlfriend's name, Heather. He was her fan when she was doing her little book autograph signings, and I figured then that he may have been Muse, and then sure enough, he was Muse. So a lot of times, this show in particular, they tried to make it seem like they was doing something so intriguing and so interesting, or they was trying to keep certain things aloof and mysterious. And a lot of times, I was able to read through a lot of that stuff, so that was a problem for me, because I didn't always feel like I was being surprised by this show in certain aspects. And then, yeah, we see Fist just do what he does, with him just accumulate more power and more influence. And obviously the guy that set up that whole bank operation, and now he was trying to, you know, get Vanessa. I think he died in episode 6, but it may have been episode 7 where he gets killed. And then obviously Fist is forming his task squad, when them acting like they was the ones that helped out take out Muse and things like that, even though it was Heather who killed Muse after Daredevil was softening him up. And so we see that, and that was pretty good. That was a pretty good episode. Then obviously episode 8, I thought was the probably best episode of this season so far, because I'll get to the finale in a minute and my situation with that. But episode 8 was great. The way they set everything up from the beginning, starting with Vanessa in the prison talking to Poindexter and getting him to, you know, work out the little whims. I did appreciate, I think that was episode 7, or it may have, no, yeah, it was episode 8. I appreciated, you know, what happens with Matt go and see Poindexter after all this time, after he'd been ignoring him for a while, and Poindexter trying to convince Matt to, you know, help him, and he'll give him information on who told him to kill Foggy and things like that. And then obviously Matt slams his head into the thing. And I didn't know at that moment when he said thank you, I didn't realize that he was thanking him for obviously what he does later with that tooth being loose, and he snaps the rest of the lingering tooth, and Bullseye does what Bullseye does, and crazy. And so that was great. And then obviously the conclusion of everything, where Matt finding out that it was Vanessa that was responsible for Foggy's death, and then he just stupidly takes a bullet for Fist, which I don't understand. It's like, this is the perfect time to let this man just get his due. But I understand Matt still has that moral compass within him, where he wants Fist to face justice. It's almost like it's like that. It's like Batman with the Joker, but Fist is not as psychotic and as unhinged as the Joker is. But it's one of those things where it's like the hero just won't let the villain die, even if he's not necessarily the one killing him. It's like, why save him? Just let him. But obviously, then we'll have no more show, and there wouldn't be no more Vincent D'Onofrio, which I can't get enough of, and I'm sure many of you guys can't get enough of. But anyway, the season finale, they bring back Punisher. They finally bring back Karen Page. Like, oh my God, why would you? This is a phenomenal character. I love Deborah Ann Wool. Shout out to her, and obviously John Bertha. It's a treat. They will make the show, and it's still missing something. You're missing Foggy. We need Foggy. Like, look, no disrespect to Kirsten, and I believe his name is Cherry, and all these other new characters. Even obviously, then on Fifth Side with Buck and Sheila and Vince the Soprano's son, the Ganafrio guy kid. And it's just like all those other characters are good. It was good also in the season finale to see Fisk still utilizing. He obviously still got his police force or his vigilante force, and it was good to see Daredevil and Punisher just mold through all of them fools. And that was a great action sequence, and just seeing obviously Fisk still working all his little machinations, and him knowing that Vanessa did what she did and not even have to say nothing. And their dynamic starting to really come back into the fold, which I love. Them still being pieces, both of them being pieces of shit, but love them because they clever with it, and you gotta respect it. But it's just the finale just didn't hit it's like I thought episode 8 was like, wow, this is like perfection. This is peak Daredevil content right here. And then the season finale was just like, is that season finale or is that just like a mid-season break that you took? Because it's just like, I just feel like, because usually even when there's going to be another season, you feel like the story arc has a conclusion. And this felt like, oh no, we're just taking a break. Maybe 6 months to a year break. Like what? Kind of like what they did, and this is the complete different show, but in Invincible in season 2, when Robert Kirkman and the creators decided to take a 4-month break in the middle of a season. That was the stupidest thing that you could ever do. And that's some similar to what they did with this, because originally we know this Born Again season was supposed to be 18 episodes, and maybe it should have been completely, but then they decided to split it, and it is what it is. But overall, even though there were great moments in the season finale, like I said, Karen Page coming back, Punisher and Daredevil working together, and then Fisk does what Fisk does. Such a visceral moment. That was reminiscent of season 1, episode 1 of the Fisk introduction, and yeah, it was brutal. I was like, now we get more of this. We get more of this type of gory violence. We need that. Especially in this MCU that's sometimes too cookie cutter at times. And even though I know they tried to do it with Echo, it didn't work as well. It was more effective, much more effective in Daredevil Born Again. So overall, I did really like Daredevil Born Again season 1. I would probably give it like a 7.5 out of 10. It's a pretty good start, but it's still a lot left on this bone, because certain episodes throughout this season just didn't make too much sense as much to me. Some of it was inconsistent. Some of the character development, some characters just got completely just disassembled quickly and just suddenly for no reason, and I didn't like that at all. And so, I felt like White Tiger got disrespected, Muse got disrespected, kind of similar to what the MCU did, what they did Gore the Butcher, which love that comic book run. If you guys haven't read that Thor comic book run of Gore the Butcher, it's fantastic. Check it out. And that's just kind of what Marvel does sometimes, where they just kill off and they just ruin certain characters before they even get a moment to actually blossom. And so it is what it is. But overall, I like this season. I look forward to seeing what they do with season 2. So check it out. Peace.